reality. Welcome to Myanmar Today Review, and this is where we visit the top stories for this week from Myanmar Today. Here are the reports from our reporters from this week. Dora will give us the details on Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Myanmar. Willison got the latest report on improving Myanmar-China diplomatic relation. Pyo Thiritu and Zaya Mo has the story on a 70 years diplomatic tie of China-Myanmar. It is mutually beneficial. David Tanner got the latest report on China-Myanmar Belt and Road discussion. Before we get to the reports, let's take a look at the featured local news from this week. A ceremony to mark the Myanmar-China 70th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations and launching of Myanmar-China bilateral cultural and tourism year was held at the Myanmar International Convention Center 2 in Naypyidaw on Friday, with attendance by President U Min, President of the People's Republic of China, Mr. Xi Jinping, and State Councilor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi. Afterwards, President U Min, State Councilor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, and President of the People's Republic of China Xi Jinping delivered opening addresses. In his address, President U Min said, quote, "If we look at Myanmar-China diplomatic relations, we may observe that this relationship has seen consistent development characterized by visits of leaders, government delegations, and people-to-people visits. We have also seen the consistent development of cooperation in all sectors, resulting in increasing mutual trust and support between the two countries." End quote. He concluded, quote, "At the moment, we can clearly see the bilateral friendship and cooperation developing further under the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, and the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor of the PRC. I believe that the BRI Belt and Road Initiative will result in development of both countries and greater opportunities and benefits for our two peoples." End quote. Afterwards, State Councilor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi said, quote, "I am very much pleased that while in accordance with the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence laid down by the two countries, cooperation, collaboration, and goodwill relations have developed more and more. Our collaborations have already been made in all sectors." End quote. She concluded her speech by saying, quote, "I believe that in the future also the success in the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor and the Belt and Road Initiative will bring positive outcomes for the interests of the peoples of our two countries." End quote. The President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping, then gave a speech. He said, quote, "This is an important milestone in the history of friendly relations between Myanmar and China, as well as an event that citizens of both nations should partake in." End quote. He concluded his speech by saying, quote, "We are drawing a future roadmap that will bring to life bilateral relations based on brotherly and sisterly closeness in order to overcome hardships together and provide assistance to each other." End quote. President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping, and the State Councilor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi met for discussion at the Presidential Palace in Naypyidaw on Saturday morning. President Xi Jinping is on the state visit with the invitation of President U Min. The State Councilor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi and the union ministers joined the meeting, and President Xi Jinping and the party participated in the meeting. The MOUs were exchanged in front of State Councilor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi and the President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping. That's all with the local news. This is Myanmar Today Review, broadcasting from Myanmar International Radio. On FM, make sure you catch us on 96.1 FM in Yangon, 96.5 in Mandalay, and 96.7 in Naypyidaw. You can also download MI Radio app on both iOS and Android devices for your own convenience. And I believe it's time now for our first report. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived to Naypyidaw, the capital city of Myanmar, for his 2-day visit, and held meetings with Myanmar President U Min and State Councilor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi.
2023 Chinese President Mr. Xi Jinping arrived to Naypyidaw, the capital city of Myanmar, for his 2 days visit and held meetings with Myanmar President U Win Myint and State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi. This visit marked as the first Chinese president visit to Myanmar in almost 2 decades and also the second time visit for Mr. Xi Jinping as he visited to Myanmar in 2009 as a vice president. Chinese President Xi Jinping and his delegation group arrived to Naypyidaw International Airport in the afternoon of 17 January. The Vice President of Myanmar, U Min Sui, welcomed the President Xi at the airport. After that, they continued to the Presidential Palace to meet with Myanmar President U Win Myint and together held the welcoming ceremony with guards of honors for Chinese President and his delegation group. Later, State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi welcomed the President Xi and had a private meeting at the Presidential Palace. The Myanmar President U Win Myint also held a meeting with Chinese President Xi to discuss about the future cooperation and to strengthen the diplomatic ties between the two countries. Before his arrival, a signed article by Chinese President Xi titled "Writing a New Chapter in Our Millennial-Old Baopo Friendship" was published in Myanmar. In this article, President Xi mentioned that from this visit, he looked forward to renewing China's Baopo ties with Myanmar and discuss about the future cooperation between the two countries. It is also stated that bilateral trade China and Myanmar reached $16.8 billion in the first 11 months of 2019. And it is also written in the article as more and more agriculture and livestock products from Myanmar are making their way to Chinese kitchens. The reports have said that this time visit will give BRI projects a boost. In late 2018, Myanmar signed a deal with China to develop China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, which is a part of Belt and Road Initiative. So, during this visit, the experts have guessed to sign some bilateral agreements under the BRI projects. Also, some reports have said that the two sides will be discussing about Jiaopyu Special Economic Zone, which is a key strategic component of the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor. As a record, Myanmar have already signed 3 projects under BRI, which are Jiaopyu SEZ, Musep Manali Railway Project, and 3 border economic cooperation zones in Kachin State and Northern Shan State. Also, in the Chinese president's article, it is also mentioned that the two sides will host a string of events to expand exchanges and cooperations on education, religion, media, movies, and TV programs to celebrate the 70th anniversary of diplomatic ties. According to the schedule, the Chinese president will meet with some Myanmar government delegates in the presidential palace. Also, the state councillor and the Chinese President Xi Jinping will have G2G meeting between the two countries and also will sign bilateral agreement. Okay, so that's all about the report now. This is your reporter daughter reporting you from MI Radio, and see you again.
That's the report on the Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Myanmar. The diplomatic relation between China and Myanmar will soon mark its 70th anniversary in 2020, and the Chinese President Xi Jinping will visit Myanmar from the 17th to the 18th of January to strengthen the diplomatic relation between the two nations. Therefore, MI Radio spoke to several prominent persons to hear from them on their opinions on how the visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping will impact the socio-economic situation in Myanmar. Willison will tell us the full story.
Myanmar-China diplomatic relation will mark its 70th anniversary in the year 2020, since it was first initiated in 1950. Since the diplomatic relation was first began, the two nations always keep a good relation, understanding the importance of each other. With the aim to strengthen the friendship between Myanmar and China, the Chinese President Xi Jinping will give a visit to Myanmar from 17 to 18 of January after more than a decade of his last visit in 2009. As Vice President, coming of President Xi Jinping is a very much anticipated event in Myanmar, from ordinary people to the highest governmental officials, hoping to reinforce and strengthen the relation between the two nations. The following are views and opinions from some of the prominent persons speaking to MI Radio on what could the visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping will mean for Myanmar. Speaking to MI Radio, U Aung Du Ngyen, Director of Communication Office at Institute for Strategy and Policy, said,
When it comes to peace process in Myanmar, I don't think there will be discussion on this issue in this visit of President Mr. Xi Jinping, as there are several areas to talk about. I think they will give focus on diplomatic relation of the two nations, investment and other strategy. As far as I know, the Chinese government is eager to help Myanmar in achieving peace, and Chinese government is also very much active in peace process with the aim to bring peace in Myanmar.
Now let's take a listen to U Chun Sing, who is the Executive Director of the Jumoi Food Manufacturing Company.
From business point of view, I hope there will be good impacts to the political and economic sectors. I also hope that we will be able to receive more investments from China through his visit, which will pave platform for the economic growth of our nation. Compared to what we have in our country, they have higher amount of investment. But if they are to do investment in Myanmar, from my point of view, if they can talk to indigenous business persons for the investment, then it will be a good move.
Some of the most remarkable meetings between Myanmar and China in the year 2019 was both State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi and Senior General Min Aung Hlaing visited China and met Chinese President Xi Jinping. U Myat Tin Aung is the Vice President of Myanmar-China Friendship Association, who is very much eager to promote the friendship between Myanmar and China, especially in cultural field. And speaking to MI Radio on the upcoming visit of Chinese President, he said,
What I see is the visit of Chinese President to Myanmar will greatly enhance the investment. At the same time, I also believe that Myanmar's role with the international market in trading will be far more improved. We have heard that the visit of Chinese President will bring investors to Myanmar in construction of railway and highway in Myanmar, which is a part of Belt and Road Initiative. So for Myanmar-China Friendship Association, we're glad to hear this news. I believe all these will help our nation in improving transportation and trading sector for our nation. Recently, we see the visit of South Korean President brought good results to our nation. So we believe the visit of Chinese President will also bring many good impacts to our nation as well.
Speaking to MI Radio, Mong Yuan Aung Shin of NLD also said,
Myanmar and China have more than 2,000-kilometer long border, and we also have around 2,000 years long connection with China. And then the diplomatic relation was officially established between the two nations for 1950. The diplomatic relation between Myanmar and China has been at good stake since it was first began. But the diplomatic relation between Myanmar and China see it peak from the year 2015, which we have never experienced before in history. From 1988, the relation was mainly between government to government, but from 2015, it has become really good to government, party to party, and people to people, and I believe that the coming of President Xi Jinping will also further improve the relation between the two nations. The visit of President Xi Jinping is also very much exciting for both the government and the public along with business persons. Since we have rare visit of top officials from the Chinese government during another-led government, it is one of the unique time for our nation. Therefore, I hope that his visit will also greatly helpful for us in peace process.
This is Williamson reporting for MI Radio.
That's the report on the improving Myanmar-China diplomatic relation. Moving on to the third report. Sharing over 2,200 kilometers borderline, Myanmar and China have long and close relationship known as Baopo friendship. Within 70 years of diplomatic tie, the two neighboring countries are working on strategic cooperation in order to ensure mutually beneficial situation for economic growth, especially in trading and tourism sectors.
Sharing over 2,200 kilometers borderline, Myanmar and China have long and close relationship known as Baopo friendship. Within 70 years of diplomatic tie, the two neighboring countries are working on strategic cooperation in order to ensure win-win situation for political and economic growth. Today, Chinese government has generated the China-Myanmar economic corridor as a vital part of its huge economic project, the Belt and Road Initiative or the New Silk Road. Myatin Aung, the vice chairman of Myanmar-China Friendship Association, said about the potential benefits for Myanmar from the China's BRI project. Vice chairman, Myanmar-China Friendship Association, Myatin Aung, said,
There are so many potential benefits for Myanmar as soon as the Silk Road has generated. The Silk Road will cross from China to India, so Myanmar is going to receive some percentage like transportation taxes from international traders. Myanmar can easily make import and export operations not only to China but also to the Western countries, and the employment opportunities will be provided at the same time.
Apart from the government-to-government cooperation, Chinese companies in Myanmar are investing in natural resources, technology, wine and facilities. Myanmar, with sufficient resources and its geographical positions, becomes a worthy place to make investing, and also China-Myanmar bilateral trading across the borderline. For trading, China and Myanmar mainly use the water and land transports for import and export operation. The operations are depending on the silky relationship between Myanmar and China. Masuwei, the CEO from Mgo Myanmar and franchise store of the lifestyle products from China, said about her experiences on import trading. He took the franchise Mgo store from China since 2015 and now 30 branches of Mgo store in Myanmar. CEO Mgo Myanmar Masuwei said that
we import the goods through border and also from containers. The bridge between Myanmar and China in Muse was broken down in 2019. At the time, the importing routes were blocked and goods supply was delayed. I hope that the silky relationship between Myanmar and China keep improving and it can create the better infrastructure for transportation without delaying for trading. Then we can import various updated lifestyle products from China to Myanmar with reasonable price. At first, we faced people doubting that made in China products are not qualified enough. But now the market accepts that made in China products are also qualified with fair price.
Like border trading, tourism sector is also one of the demanding sectors between Myanmar and China. Both governments encourage the development and improvement of tourism sectors as the way of cultural exchange between two countries. Assistant Golden Honesty Travel Agency Go Aung San Lin said that.
Since 1st of October 2018, Myanmar has given the access of visa on arrival for the tourists from China, Japan, Republic of Korea, and some other countries. The tourist entrance, including Chinese tourists, obviously increased after initiating that visa-free policy. So, this kind of policy is really convenient for tourism market. And we heard that the Chinese President Xi Jinping will visit to Myanmar soon. After his visit to Myanmar, there is much potential that the tourists, especially the Chinese people who have never visited to Myanmar before, will know that Myanmar is safe and well worth visiting, and the one who was visited to Myanmar will also revisit.
This year, the two countries are celebrating their 70 years anniversary of diplomatic relationship. Also, the Chinese President Xi Jinping will visit to Myanmar on January 17th, his first-time visit to Myanmar by a Chinese leader in 19 years. The discussions for the relations and projects are expected for mutual benefits for political and economic growth of the two countries.
That's the report on the 70 years diplomatic tie of China-Myanmar. It is mutually beneficial. China-Myanmar Belt and Road discussion has been organized by China Media Group. Has been held on 4 p.m. 15 January at Wintergram Hotel in Yangon. The discussion mainly highlighted the efforts for the establishment of Belt and Road through media cooperation in Myanmar. Our reporter David Tanner got the details of it.
China-Myanmar Belt and Road Media Talk has been attended by Mr. N. Xiaoyui, Director General of Asia and Africa Center of China Media Group, Professor Dr. Anton That, Monywa Aungshin, Chief Editor of D-Wave Journal, renowned writer Wu Heinla, Wu Elun, and China-Myanmar intellectuals who participated in the media talks on modern China-Myanmar relations. In the opening speech of Mr. N. Xiaoyui, he said,
that China and Myanmar are working together. Chinese President Mr. Xi Jinping is going to visit Myanmar within 1 or 2 days. It's the first ever official state visit of Chinese leaders within 19 years. It's of great importance. The news of Chinese president who is going to pay a visit to Myanmar is being expressed on the Chinese media pages. The visit of Chinese President Mr. Xi Jinping is hoped to bring China-Myanmar relations to a new level. For that reason, the people from the various fields from China expect that the better result will come out to further strengthen China-Myanmar relations from this visit. With that said, I would also like to present a documentary film jointly directed by China Media Group and the Ministry of Information of Myanmar. The title is March Towards a Big Road. The documentary film aims for Myanmar citizens to understand Chinese people for how they try to reach a developed country from undeveloped situation. I will conclude my opening speech by saying that I'll be learning the discussion among media professionals.
China Media Group organized the media talk in partnership with Skynet. The media talk mainly highlighted the efforts of the establishment of Belt and Road through media cooperation. With that said, I have also interviewed Monywa Aungshin for why China as a country and the Belt and Road Initiative is important for Myanmar.
အများကြီးရေးပါတယ်။ဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုတော့နံပါတ်1ကကျွန်တော်တို့ကတရုတ်နိုင်ငံနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကမိုင်ကီလိုမီတာ
China and Belt and Road is, I must say, one of the most essential projects for Myanmar. As China to Myanmar is one of the nearest neighboring country, we have always been associated and linked each other, whether it may be in the way of geopolitics or geoeconomics. That is why, in my opinion, on the further journey of China-Myanmar friendship and the Belt and Road project, my expectations are really high and it is optimistic.
In the event, I have also interviewed the Business Development Officer for New Starlight Construction Company for his perspective as a business expert regarding the Belt and Road project.
So as everyone might be aware, the Mandalay is located in the central region of Myanmar. All the major cities and nearby towns are coming to Mandalay for trade and also for business. So Belt and Road will start from Muse and pass through the Mandalay. So from then they would go to Naypyidaw, Chaopyu or Yangon. So it's like a meeting point of the routes in Myanmar. So as you know, China is a very big country with a very big economy. So we can gain a lot of opportunity by means of trade, or if the Myanmar government and the Chinese government will be able to make the right coordination and also the planning of the agreements and execution of the agreements in Myanmar.
Professor Dr. Anton Tha also told MI Radio for his opinion on the plan of Chinese President Mr. Xi Jinping visiting Myanmar.
We should note that this is the almost 20 years since the last president has visited Myanmar. Of course, he has, in his capacity as vice president, has been here a couple of years ago. But the fact that he had decided to come to Myanmar in 2020, this is the first overseas trip in this year for him, and also very close to the Chinese New Year. So we should take every opportunity to dialogue with him, to work with him, and to build stronger relationships between both the two leaders as well as the two countries.
Professor Dr. Anton Tha also stated and explained the detail for why the Belt and Road Initiative is essential for Myanmar and how it might come to be a great profit for China and Myanmar if both of the countries work together thematically.
The whole issue of Belt and Road Initiative taken by President Xi, I think essentially it's only one word. Word is connectivity. So connectivity either by road, by rail, by sea transport. So what we believe is connectivity, and I'll be making a presentation. Connectivity equals prosperity. So if countries and peoples are connected, there's a more opportunity for countries to develop. So I think we should take advantage of the relationships we have, and especially since the president is visiting us, this is a once in a lifetime chance.
Reporter David Tanner reporting from Myanmar International Radio.
That's the report on China-Myanmar Belt and Road discussion. Now to international news. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Naypyidaw on Friday for a state visit to Myanmar. It's President Xi's first overseas trip this year and the first visit to the Asian neighbor by a Chinese president after an interval of 19 years.
The Chinese president attended a welcoming ceremony held by Myanmar President Wu Wei-min on Friday. Expressing his goodwill towards the government and people in Myanmar, President Xi pointed out that the two countries, linked by mountains and rivers, share deep friendship. Over the past 7 decades since bilateral diplomatic ties were established, China and Myanmar have developed their bonds on the basis of 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, which they both agreed on. President Xi also spoke highly of the achievements that have been made thanks to cooperation and exchanges in various areas. And the president called for bilateral ties to be pushed forward into a new era with deeper communication and closer strategic cooperation. China is Myanmar's largest trading partner. Their total bilateral trade volume in 2019 was worth $17.7 billion. Meanwhile, Myanmar is active in China's Belt and Road Initiative. One of the biggest projects under the framework is the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor.
Chinese President Xi Jinping on Friday said that China firmly supports Myanmar in pursuing a development path suited to its national conditions. The Chinese president arrived at Naypyidaw International Airport, where he was warmly welcomed by Vice President Wu Mian-sui and several cabinet ministers. He made the remarks during talks with Myanmar President Wu Win-myint in the capital city of Naypyidaw, stressing the importance of the Baopo friendship and deepening bilateral ties between the two countries. Hailing the strong foundation of the comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership between the two countries, President Xi Jinping called for joint efforts to build a China-Myanmar community with a shared future and advanced cooperation of the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor within the Belt and Road Initiative framework. Extending a warm welcome to President Xi on behalf of the Myanmar government and people, Myanmar President Wu Win-myint said he believes the visit will be historic and open up a new chapter in bilateral relations. President Wu Win-myint said the people in Myanmar appreciate China's support and understanding of issues concerning Rakhine State, and that his country firmly adheres to the One China principle regarding Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. President Xi held cordial and friendly talks with Myanmar State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi on the same day and attended a state event at Myanmar's presidential palace on Friday. The event, which was attended by Myanmar leaders including Myanmar President Wu Win-myint, State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, and all cabinet members, was held to celebrate the 70th anniversary of bilateral diplomatic ties and launched 2020 as the China-Myanmar Year of Culture and Tourism. Daw Aung San Suu Kyi said that no matter how the domestic situation changes in Myanmar, all its governments always attach great importance to developing friendly relations with China. She expressed the firm belief that under Xi's leadership, China will eventually achieve its 2 centenary goals and accomplish the great cause of national rejuvenation, adding China's development will deliver more opportunities to Myanmar and the world. Myanmar leaders said they will continue to advance the joint construction of the Belt and Road and building of a Myanmar-China community with a shared future to benefit the two peoples. They pledged to join hands with China and the rest of the world in building a community with a shared future for mankind and promoting world peace and development. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the establishment of China-Myanmar diplomatic relations. As friendly neighbors, Myanmar has been generally associated with the Silk Road, which originated in China. Throughout history, and the friendship of two countries keeps vibrant thanks to the Belt and Road Initiative. Let's take a look.
缅甸呢是世界上第一个承认新中国的非社会主义国家。
Myanmar was the first non-socialist country to recognize New China. That was extremely important to China, given the international environment at the time. President Xi positioned Myanmar as his first country to visit in 2020. I personally think that this is also a response to Myanmar's support for China.
Professor Yang Guoying is playing the song gok, a national musical instrument of Myanmar. It's an ancient harp which appeared over 4,000 years ago. After studying Burmese culture and language for decades, Professor Yang is more than interested in bilateral relations between China and Myanmar.
中国的一带一路的倡议在缅甸也得到了积极的回应。
China's Belt and Road Initiative has received a positive response from Myanmar. The China-Myanmar Economic Corridor project is tailored for Myanmar as well. China is currently Myanmar's most important investor and largest trading partner.
Apart from economic cooperation between the two countries, Professor Yang sees great potential in areas like infrastructure establishment, agriculture, and tourism. She believes that more projects will be implemented and that more exchanges can be made after Xi's visit.
That's all the reports we have for you today. That's all with the news and reports on Myanmar Today Review. Tune in every Saturday on MITV at 8:30 p.m. for Myanmar Today Review. Until next time.